we're here today to discuss the issue of intoxicating hemp. It's really become a problem in Ohio. It's become a problem across the country. Maybe just a little history to kind of set the stage, though. Several years ago, Congress passed the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018. This is also known as the 2018 Farm Bill. Among the bill's most notable provisions was the federal legalization of hemp. At that time, the hemp advocates touted several uses for hemp. New industrial and food uses that could make hemp a potential cash crop for interested farmers. And that's how it was also sold here in the state of Ohio. Unlike marijuana, hemp has very low levels of THC by definition. THC, of course, is the psychoactive compound found in marijuana. This similar change was made in the Ohio law. The 133rd General Assembly passed Senate Bill 57 in 2019. This decriminalized hemp and established hemp cultivation licenses in the state of Ohio, again for generally the same purported reasons. While hemp and marijuana are both cannabis, federal and state law differentiated hemp and marijuana by their THC content. That was the difference. That's how it's defined, with hemp being below 0.3% THC, 0.3. Now, after these laws were passed, chemists began manipulating compounds in the legal non-intoxicating hemp plant, turning these compounds into intoxicating THC, including delta-8 and delta-9, which are, of course, found in marijuana. These products made from intoxicating hemp, as we know, are not regulated and they're not tested. Next, State Issue 2 was passed by the Ohio voters in 2023. This provided, of course, for the regulation and the legal sale through dispensaries of marijuana in the state of Ohio. Shortly after that, intoxicating hemp began to appear in stores across the state of Ohio. As marijuana was now legal, these new intoxicating hemp products were marketed very similarly to marijuana, but without, of course, any state regulation. The marijuana laws that were approved by Ohio voters created a highly regulated market. These laws limit where products can be sold and who can buy them, by age, of course, limited. Marijuana laws require very rigorous product testing and ensure that packaging does not target children. However, for intoxicating hemp, this product has no restrictions on where it can be sold or who can buy it. Intoxicating hemp has no required regulatory testing at all, and is sold in packages enticing to children, many times mimicking the packaging of common candies. You'll see the display here to my left. The General Assembly has introduced several bills to try to restrict the sale of intoxicating hemp products. Senate Bill 326 was introduced in 2024 to address this issue late in the 135th General Assembly. And work has continued on it as Senate Bill 56 in this current General Assembly. Senate Bill 56 passed the Senate in February. It's pending in the House. While the General Assembly continues to work on this important legislation, I am taking action today under my authority as governor of the state of Ohio to get these products off the streets and to have them taken off our shelves. Intoxicating hemp is dangerous, and we need better to protect our children. And because of that fact, I have signed a few moments ago several different orders, which I will now talk about. But first, a few facts. According to data from the Ohio Poison Control Center, exposure to Delta 8 and Delta 9 among those 19 years of age and younger has increased well over 200% in the past few years, from 419 recorded exposures in 2021 to 994 recorded exposures in 2024, dramatic change. What's worse, the majority of those exposures are our youngest children, those 5 and under. The exposures in this age group went up even more dramatically. The exposures in this age group nearly tripled, from 202 recorded cases in 2021 to 555 recorded cases in 2024. And again, I would stress those are only the ones we know. Those are the only ones that there's been a report on. 90% of recorded exposures among those 12 and younger resulted in a trip to the emergency room. Around 2/3 of these cases actually required hospitalization. Looking at the samples that you see here, I think it's pretty easy to see why kids are enticed to them. It's easy to see why they're enticed into ingesting this intoxicating hemp. All of these were purchased here in Franklin County within the last 48 hours. And there are plenty of places to purchase them. So let's look at the pink packages on display. One is of the popular Nerds Gummy Cluster Candy, and the other is a Delta 8 product called Medicated Nerdy Bears. As you can see, the Delta 8 product uses packaging with identical design elements to the actual Nerds candy, down to using the registered trademark cartoon nerd character images. According to the packaging, each gummy bear contains 5 adult servings of THC, with each gummy bear containing more than 100 milligrams of THC. For context, many adult use products contain 10 milligrams of THC per serving. It certainly is easy to see how a child will confuse this Delta 8 product with real candy, and if they eat a few gummy bears, ingest enough THC to require hospitalization. If you look at these, I think it's pretty easy to see. This is the candy, and this is the intoxicating hemp. Designed clearly to mimic candy, designed clearly to entice children to consume these. Keep in mind that these are being sold and there is no check. There's no check on age. Anyone can walk in and buy one of these. And then you have to look at it a little more carefully. Medic 8ED, Nerdy Bears. Here's what it says. Nerdy Bears are a sweet, shareable treat with a generous amount of Delta 8 that will knock you off your feet. The fruity gummy center is surrounded by tangy, crunchy colored candy. Super potent formula. And then, of course, it says, keep out of the reach of children. And yet that's how it's. Let's look at the blue and gold package on display. The blue and gold package on display calls itself Stoner Patch Dummies. Stoner Patch Dummies. A clear knockoff of the popular Sour Patch Kids. While not identical, like the Nerds example, you can see the words are certainly markedly similar. Unlike the Nerdy Bears, this product contains no disclosure of THC content beyond there being 500 milligrams of THC in the package, with 5 gummies in the package. This is, again, 100 milligrams of THC per candy. This package ironically has a warning to consumers, urging cannabis users to start with single-serving products for safety. Despite that, each gummy is at least 5 servings apiece. So one piece has got 5 servings in it. Again, something that's a real problem in regard to children. Sour then sweet. Sour Patch Kids. There it is. That ends up in a lunchroom. What do you think kids will do with it? Join our crew. Sour, sweet, gone. Finally, we have Gushers. Last set of examples on display is a product called Sour Infused Gushers. Again, a clear knockoff of the popular Gushers brand of fruit snacks, which are sold in several sour flavor varieties. The packaging is similar, again showing how easily a child might confuse this product with legitimate fruit snacks. And again, this 500 milligram package contains 5 pieces, showing that each piece has 100 milligrams of THC. This product doesn't even list the manufacturer or its ingredients. So I think the danger to our children is clear, and I'm taking action today to protect Ohio's children. These children are vulnerable to these potent knockoff products that are on sale today across the state of Ohio. Earlier today, in fact, just a few minutes ago, I signed an executive order that does 2 things. Let me go through this. First, the executive order changes the definition of hemp and hemp products in the Ohio Administrative Code. When Ohio legalized hemp in 2019, it was not the intention of the legislature to legalize an unregulated product that can harm our children. That was never what the legislature intended. Effective October 14th, 2025. This order gives the Ohio Department of Agriculture the authority to exclude intoxicating hemp from the definition of legal hemp in Ohio. It is a fundamentally different product, altered, very, very different than hemp. No one ever, when the argument was made to legalize hemp, was anticipating intoxicating hemp. That's not what the legislature intended. That is not what Congress intended. That's not what was told to the public. This will clarify in administrative law that intoxicating hemp is not hemp. It is rather an adulterated product. To say it another way, because hemp was modified to create intoxicating hemp is simply no longer hemp. When this order goes into effect on Tuesday, intoxicating hemp products will be illegal under the administrative law. The process to change rules in the administrative code typically takes several months, but under the governor's long-standing emergency rule authority, this change can be authorized sooner, so it is in effect while the regular rulemaking process goes ahead and takes place. So that's the first thing that this order does. Second, the order declares an adulterated consumer product emergency in the state of Ohio. An adulterated consumer emergency in regard to intoxicating hemp products, requiring all retailers to get these products off their shelves. By law, the governor has the authority to declare a consumer product safety emergency if there is reason to believe that a product has been adulterated and presents a threat to public safety and health. The order gives retailers until Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, to remove items containing intoxicating hemp from their shelves and cease all sales. After that, local and state authorities, including our Ohio Department of Agriculture, will have the power to seize these products. Those who violate this order could also be subject to a fine of $500 per day while the product remains on sale. This consumer product safety emergency will last 90 days. After that, according to Ohio law, it's under the authority of the General Assembly to let the emergency order expire or to extend it. Now, to be clear, this does not apply to non-intoxicating hemp products that were legalized by the General Assembly in 2019. Doesn't affect them at all. Nor does this impact legal marijuana legally sold in licensed dispensaries across the state of Ohio. Does not affect that. This is specifically aimed at synthetic intoxicating hemp products that can be sold to kids, has no quality control, and are simply dangerous. In closing, I want to again make it very clear in comparing what the voters passed in legalizing marijuana and the situation today in regard to intoxicating hemp. And they're very, very different. The law passed by the voters in regard to marijuana limits where marijuana can be sold. To buy marijuana, a person must visit a licensed, regulated dispensary in the state of Ohio. Intoxicating hemp, on the other hand, is now being sold everywhere. And there are today on the books no limits to where it can be sold. Number two, when someone goes to a licensed marijuana dispensary, they must be 21 years of age or older to buy the marijuana. Anyone of any age can buy these products. Anyone of any age can buy intoxicating hemp. Number three, Ohio voters voted to require rigorous product testing and product labeling for marijuana. Again, intoxicating hemp is being sold in Ohio. That is being sold in Ohio today has not been tested to determine its true THC content. And even if a product lists any content information at all, we still have absolutely no idea what the packaging says, if what the packaging says is actually accurate. Number four, Ohio marijuana laws are strict when it comes to advertising. Marijuana cannot be marketed to kids, and it can't be in packages that makes it look like candy. Intoxicating hemp, on the other hand, can and does look like candy, and they do it on purpose. They do it on purpose. They do it to attract kids. Let me now introduce Dr. Hannah Hayes, Medical Director of the Central Ohio Poison Center at Nationwide Children's Hospital. She will further discuss the impact of intoxicating hemp on kids, and she'll talk about what she is seeing in that position that she holds. Doctor?
Thank you, Governor DeWine. Thank you for inviting us to share insights on how intoxicating hemp products are affecting Ohio's children and how our poison control operations are responding to these emerging challenges. My name is Dr. Hannah Hayes, and I'm the Medical Director and Chief of Toxicology at the Central Ohio Poison Center located at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus. I'm here today on behalf of the Ohio Children's Hospital Association, the voice of Ohio's children and families, united by a shared vision that Ohio will be the best place for child health. Since intoxicating hemp products such as Delta 8 became widely available, the number of accidental poisonings among children has risen sharply. Poison control centers first began tracking these exposures in 2021. And since that time, Delta 8 THC exposures in Ohio's children aged 12 years and younger have risen sharply. Among children under 6 years old, exposures rose more than 330%, and among children aged 6 to 12, exposures rose 550%. And although we've seen a modest decline in 2025, exposures remain unacceptably high. The effects of these products on young children are not benign. According to a study that my colleagues and I published analyzing more than 5,000 exposures to Delta 8, Delta 10, and THC acetate reported to America's Poison Centers in 2021 and 2022, children who ingest them can experience drowsiness, hallucinations, confusion, loss of consciousness, seizures, and even respiratory failure. And I myself recently published a case study with colleagues of mine describing a child that we took care of with recurrent seizures after exposure to these products. We see this often, and these children come in drowsy and they can be very sick. My colleagues and I published another study last month showing that ingestion of just a few serving sizes of these products, so 1 or 2 of these products that were pointed out earlier, is enough to place children in the highest risk quartile in terms of the risk of severe toxicity and the development of prolonged toxicity, which requires hospital admission. Ohio poison data demonstrates that 90% of exposures to children under 6 receive emergency department care, and about 2/3 are hospitalized for continued monitoring and treatment, such as monitoring of their mental status to make sure they're not getting too drowsy and developing coma, or monitoring a child for continued worsening and need for being placed on a ventilator to support breathing. And the same pattern holds true for children aged 6 to 12 years. So these intoxicating hemp products pose a serious and preventable threat to child health. And supporting a ban on intoxicating hemp products is a critical step in preventing future poisonings, protecting Ohio's children, and ensuring that our state truly becomes the best place for children's health. Thank you, Governor.
Doctor, thank you very much. Let me now introduce Sheriff Vern Stanford. He's representing the Buckeye Sheriff's Association to talk about what they've been experiencing across the state from a law enforcement perspective. Sheriff?
Thank you. Thank you, Governor, and thank you, Dr. Hayes. I was so fortunate to have met Dr. Hayes in the hallway, and we talked briefly. She's got a lot of information that I was seeking, that I didn't know was out there. Now I know it's there because we're seeing that, the effects of gummies on our streets all across Ohio. When we start seeing the volume of our children who are, the life squad is being called to treat them for seizures, and you're thinking, how many, this is an abnormal number of seizures we're having, and we have to have a reason, and I think her studies is showing some of the reason. I want to take you back a couple years ago when I was a kid. So more than 60 years ago on the playground of my elementary school, we thought that it was really neat to go on the back of the ball diamond and chew tobacco. And if you ever seen a plug of tobacco, it's not very appealing. It's literally just a plug of brown cluster of squished up leaves, and you're supposed to put that in your mouth and chew on it, and for some reason people thought that was a good idea. The first time I was ever exposed to chewing tobacco, we had a row of kids my age, and the first one, he brought the tobacco from his father's supply, and they started taking a bite off of that tobacco, and they would chew it, and by the time it got to me, the first kid was green and throwing up. Well, needless to say, I've never tried tobacco in my life. That cured me forever. But that was a simpler time, and it was chewing tobacco. I knew what it was. Our kids today have a different challenge, and gummies is a challenge that's so attractive to a 10, 11, 12-year-old that they're going to sit on the playground. Someone's going to bring this package with them in their book bag, because they could legally stop at the corner market and buy this, take it to school, go on the ball field, hide from the teachers, and share this. And the first kid may not turn green and throw up before all the kids have consumed one of these. And now we're having some child is having an adverse effect, falling over into a seizure. I get called to that playground with a child in a seizure. And this because of gummies. So it's really something that it's affecting our children. And I applaud the governor, and I will applaud the state legislature and encourage them to take more action to get this regulated. It's intoxicating, and that word intoxicating is there for a purpose. You know, it's all recognized as an intoxicating hemp. We're not asking about people chewing on a hemp rope and getting high. We're talking about something that has been adulterated. And it's made to look like a candy that the child, right beside the next candy, that is a good candy. And then we have the intoxicating hemp candy. So I applaud the governor for taking this action, and I encourage our legislatures to take more aggressive action in passing legislation to get this off of the counters across our stores and put it where it needs to be, in the dispensaries where it can be regulated and sold by professionals. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate it very much. Questions?
Previously, you've said that you could not sign an executive order about hemp. What has changed?
Well, I asked our lawyers to go back and take a look at it, and they've come to the conclusion that we certainly have the power to do the two things that we're doing today. That's it. We believe we have the power to do that, and this crisis is continue to get worse and worse. And I'm not going to sit by and let this continue.
Governor, you make a case for these candies and how they look like, you know, stuff you get at the local Target or what have you. But what about the differentiation of you know, beverages being sold at beer and wine shops or tap rooms or whatever, where people only 21 and up are going anyway? Why not? Why throw out all of the products all at once?
Well, what's being sold as far as alcohol is it's been regulated historically in the state of Ohio. We regulate it. The person who is serving that beer, you know, can lose their license if they're serving to a minor. That's the difference. I mean, these are designed to appeal to minors, and there's nothing under the current law before the executive order for law enforcement to enforce this or to anyway stop at any kind of convenience store, any place, from selling it to a 15-year-old. We have an example of that occurred last year.
No, my point is that there are beer and wine shops that also sell THC-infused beverages that don't look anything like candy. They're not appealing to children. And there's a lot of retailers and shops they've invested a lot in their inventory, and this order puts them they're kind of stuck with a lot of product.
Well, again, this is, you know, we're doing this, we believe this is the right thing to do. We believe that hemp, when the decision was made by the legislature and by Congress to legalize hemp, it was never a thought that we would see chemists who would change this into intoxicating hemp. It's a totally different product.
Governor, I hear you call this product dangerous. I did not hear you call it deadly. However, you said kratom has been linked to deaths. Why take this action today on an intoxicating hemp, yet prompt the suspension of the pharmacy board vote to ban kratom?
You'll hear more from me in regard to that. This is what we're doing today. We'll do that in a future day.
Are you saying that you're going to go back to kratom? What can we expect?
We're going back to that issue, I can guarantee you.
Is there a little bit?
You know me pretty well. We're not giving up on that issue. We're going to be back on that issue.
Morgan.
And I want to go back to if I could, just a moment. Doctor, you want to address, because you had, I think it seemed to be a second question about whether this is lethal or not. But you want to describe how sick kids get from this?
Sure. Yeah, I'm not here to say that we're having a lot of childhood deaths from exposure to these products. We did have one childhood death in our study that I mentioned earlier. It's more of the clinical effects on children that are serious and prolonged, requiring hospitalization. It's in addition to the morbidity that it's causing children, it's scary for families. Children have to pick up their children during the exposure, bring them in. That's inconvenient. They're sick. That's terrible. And then they're subject to some questioning to try to figure out what's going on, and there's guilt and shame associated with that, and that's not good for families either. And so for all those reasons, that's why we'd really like to curb childhood exposures to these products.
You first told us you couldn't do anything about this by executive order in January 2024. So I want to confirm it took your lawyers until October 2025 to decide that you could do something about this by executive order. And what happens when JCAR blocks this?
Well, you're assuming something.
I have 2 senators who told me they believe that you
Well-
do not have the authority to do this.
Well, if they really believe that, and if they want to save children's lives, or not lives, but if they want to save kids having damage from this, they can take action as well. But we believe we have the authority to do this, and I'm not going to sit back and not do it. I went back to my lawyers and I said, this is a problem. It continues to get worse. It is absolutely absurd that a 14-year-old, a 13-year-old can walk into a store and buy this stuff. It's never what anybody intended when the hemp law was passed. It wasn't what the legislature intended. I don't think you'll find one legislator who will tell you that it was intended. So yeah, I went back to our lawyers and I said, see if we have power to do this. Take another look at this. And when they came back and they said, yes, we believe that you can do that, that's why they decided to take action. Who else?
What's the message to store owners across the state who are already requiring people to be 21 years old to buy this product? I'm hearing a lot from store owners that are saying now they're going to be punished even though they're already making sure kids aren't getting a hold of this and they're going to lose business.
You know, our whole system is designed, we've developed for decades, our liquor control system that's controlled. The voters, when they voted in regard to marijuana, THC, when they voted, they specifically in that law has all the regulations that were defined there. The sale of this comes under none of that. So maybe some of them are requiring someone to be 21. We don't know that, and frankly, you don't know that. That's what they're telling you, but there's no regulation of that. Nor is there any way that the seller of this product knows what's really in it. There's no testing required. There's no regulation of that. So nobody knows for sure exactly what it is. No one knows for sure exactly whether it has been contaminated. We know I was not obviously in favor of the marijuana law that was passed by the people, but they passed it, and they passed it with a lot of guardrails, a lot of things. This has none of that. So that person who's telling you that very well may be not selling and checking your license, making sure the person's 21, but they can't check all those other things. They can't guarantee to anybody what's in this product. Can't guarantee it hasn't been adulterated beyond what we already know it has been.
So the hemp products are still legal. And what is adulterated in the definition?
Well, adulterated could mean two things. I mean, it could mean, for example, what we've been talking about and what we talk about in our executive order, which means it's been fundamentally changed. It has become a new product. It does not really resemble the original product, only in name only. Very, very, very different. That's what we talk about in our executive order. Now, if we're talking about purity, and there's no way to determine that this is pure, whether I like the law or not, the law in regard to marijuana, the state guarantees. We have inspectors who go out. They can tell you what lot that is. It's like a lot. Where my family was in the seed business, a lot of seed. You could tell, where that came from, where that seed come from, where is the origin, what's the purity. You do those things with products. With this, Lord knows in some cases you don't even know who's manufacturing it, let alone what's in it. So there's no guarantee. So it's a fundamentally different product.
In your remarks earlier, and even just now, you were relatively defensive of the regulated cannabis industry. But has the legislature's push to overhaul voter legalized cannabis law dilute
eluded this issue because the legislature has been trying to pair this issue with Delta 8 for almost 2 years now. I mean, since marijuana was legalized.
Well, I don't know of anybody, and certainly not this governor, who, after the voters voted by a big margin, says that we should go back and repeal that. That was not the will of the voters. I don't think that's what the legislature intends. Maybe I didn't fully understand your question.
Well, they've proposed significant changes to marijuana and cannabis law, that regulated cannabis that you're talking about, that you now say this is a different issue. The legislature doesn't look at it like that, and.
Well, I can't look. First of all, I can't speak for the legislature. I'm not going to do that. But the changes that are talked about in regard to the marijuana law, primarily we're talking about where the money goes. No one, I don't think, has said we should not have inspectors who go out to where the marijuana is grown. No one has said the marijuana people who are growing don't have to trace that and be able to prove where it's been at all points. No one is saying that we should go back and eliminate the purity tests and contamination tests that are done in regard to marijuana. So that's what we're really talking about here. None of that is taking place here, but with marijuana, no one is saying do away with that. They might be arguing about where the money goes or other things, but not the basic purity, making sure the product is what it is sold to be, and that you know what the THC is.
I guess what I'm asking then, is it a failure of the legislature to tie the issues of marijuana and cannabis to intoxicating?
Look, the legislature, I don't speak for the legislature. I don't blame the legislature. I have a job to do. They have a job to do. My job today is to take action. That's what I'm doing.
How is the Department of Agriculture going to determine what's intoxicating and what's still legal? Like, is CBD still legal? That's not intoxicating, but has hemp in it.
Well, we're going to start by what's here. Knock you off your feet. I mean, we know why this is being sold. I mean, we don't expect the agriculture people to check their common sense at the door when they go in. I mean, everybody knows what this stuff is. So.
Well, these are like easy, but I'm talking about like, isn't there a gray area? What about tinctures of CBD? Things
Well,
like this?
we'll cross the gray area, I guess, when we get to it. But that's a pretty clear-cut area there.
So what happens after 90 days?
Look, it's up to the legislature at that point. That's the way the law works. I can only do the part of this for 90 days. So. The health emergency can only be for 90 days.
So the Senate approved a bill that would basically regulate the beverages similar to alcohol. How do you view that, since you're kind of showing that you think you have authority to kind of ban these products completely?
Well, I think if the legislature addresses it and does regulate it, that's a different issue. That's a fundamentally different issue. But you're asking me to assume a couple hypotheticals, I think. I'll see when the bill comes in front of me, what it does and when and if it comes in front of me.
So you're saying if the legislature acts to regulate these products, you would consider signing it?
Depends on what the bill says. It's no different than any other bill. I'm not going to prejudge it until I see it. But, I've expressed, in the past, my concern about this issue, and I know members of the General Assembly are concerned about it as well. They've expressed their concern about it. So I'm doing what I can do. This is the action I can take, and I'm taking it.
What is your preferred legislative outcome?
Look, I've made that very, very clear for legislation to be passed in regard to this product. But, there's several different ways the legislature can go. I'm not going to tell them what to do, but we have to have some control of this product. We can't have a situation where it's legal for people to sell this to underage kids. We can't have this situation continue where there is no limitation on the packaging. Marijuana, there's very strict packaging requirements. You cannot create a product that looks like this. That's what these people are doing. And by the way, they're making an awful lot of money off of it if you look at the price on these things.
Governor, since the voters approved recreational tried it?
No?
Governor, why a flat-out ban on these products? Why not other regulations such as age restrictions or moving them into marijuana dispensaries?
Moving to do some of the things you talked about would take legislation to do.
The Farm Act allows for mailing of these type of products.
Not
How
these,
will-
not these type of products. Not these type of products.
Well-
It does hemp, but not intoxicating hemp.
Well, it's happening, so.
Well, yes, a lot of things are happening, and that's why we're taking action in regard to this.
But does this do anything about the mail-in? Because right now, people are allowed to sell over the internet under 0.3%. Does this impact mail-in?
Well, this is not under 0.03%.
Sure, but it
Your,
also.
your product, your hypothetical is not true. This product, if this was being mailed or something similar to it, it's not under that, clearly, it's not. They're selling it as hallucinogenic. That's what they're doing.
Governor, I know you said wait and see when it comes to Kratom, but I was contacted by a family who said they lost their loved one due to abuse of synthetic Kratom. That was after the pharmacy board's vote. What message do you have for families
Yeah.
saying that they are still losing their loved ones to
Yes.
Kratom?
We are going to take action in that. We want to make sure that the action that we take is correct and can be sustainable in a court of law.
Are you
We-
going to break
no,
the
I'm-
natural Kratom and synthetic Kratom on your
I'm
recommendation?
not going to answer any more questions on Kratom today, okay?
If you want to see these products properly disposed, we have procedures for prescription drugs. What do you want to see businesses do when it comes to getting these off the shelves by Tuesday, so they don't fall back into the hands of children?
Look, we wrote this so that they could take it back to the manufacturer. We left them with that option. We didn't tell them they had to destroy it. If they want to destroy it, they can destroy it, or take it back to the manufacturer.
Can you speak to how the Ohio State Highway Patrol is gonna respond, starting on Tuesday, if they find, errant Delta 8 THC at a gas station? What's the response gonna look like? And are you asking for additional patrols for
No,
an issue
no.
like this?
Look. Most people who sell this product are law-abiding citizens, and they do not want to be violating the law. Up until today, up until Tuesday, they can sell that product. I believe that once, it's like most laws, there's a deterrent effect, and people comply with the law, basically. So I expect people to comply with the law. The Agriculture Department will have people out, and we may have other law enforcement out as well. That will be up locally, but we're certainly going to start with the Department of Agriculture inspectors.
Governor, when do you plan to call the Ohio Redistricting Commission, and do you plan to call it more than a couple of days before the end?
I was waiting for that question. I just thought,
Happy to oblige.
here, soon.
When is soon?
Soon.
I feel like we do the soon conversation a lot.
Well, we know what the law is. It's going to have to occur this month. We know that, and so it will occur
Are
this
they gonna
month.
meet more than once, or is it gonna be?
Excuse me?
Are they gonna meet more than once, or is it gonna be like Halloween soon?
Well, I still am hopeful. That's hopeful. Don't know. I'm not putting any odds on it. That something can be worked out. As you know, these things, if they get worked out, they don't usually get worked out in a public meeting. They get worked out before, and then there's a public meeting, and it gets legally taken care of. So just because,
Deliberation on where to put the Dayton Mental Hospital.
I'm sorry?
There's deliberation on where to put the state mental hospital in Dayton area. Have you guys decided on doing it at the Hera Arena site?
Well, that certainly is the preferred, at this point, the preferred site. That is not totally done yet, though. Okay?
So just to clarify on this, do you want the Delta 8 products gone, or do you just want them regulated? That kind of goes back to the legislative debate about whether we're going to put them in.
Well, let me answer it this way. I don't want the product sold to children. I think the public has spoken very clearly that when they're dealing with THC, they expect it to be regulated. They expect it to know what's in the product. They expect to make sure it is pure, and all of the above. So certainly, all the things that the voters voted for when they voted by 57% to legalize marijuana, I would expect to be dealing the same regulations with a product that is also THC and also can get you very, very, very high. So that's what I would expect. How they achieve that is open to however they want to do it. But I think those are the minimum things that are expected, and that's not Mike DeWine speaking. That's what the voters voted for. They never voted to say every gas station or every convenience store that wants to can carry this stuff and sell it with no state regulation and can sell it to kids. They never voted for that. That's not what they voted for. They voted for just the opposite. So I'm saying it needs to come off the shelves. If the legislature wants to come back and regulate it and say it can't be sold to kids and it has to fit all the other criteria that marijuana has, then that's something different. I would sign that bill.
So it's gonna be, I know that obviously we're talking about the ones that are values, but are all Delta 8 and Delta 9 and Delta products going to be banned under this executive order? Vapes, things like that. Is that going to be in the THC drinks? Are those not allowed anymore either, or?
Liquid is covered under here as well. So, anybody else?
How frustrated are you with the lawmakers due to their lack of action on this?
Oh, you're not going to get me to answer that.
Why not?
I'm not frustrated,
Are you sure?
but I needed to take action today, and that's what I did. Okay.
Is that why you did it at 2:30 in the middle of House and Senate session? Like the timing?
Are they in session? At this moment?
They were, yeah.
Okay, no, there wasn't. We said it because it worked with my calendar, frankly. So, all right, thanks, everybody.